Hello and welcome to another episode of the People's Podcast. I am your host, Paul Vibes, local motivational speaker. Our show is all about spirituality, self-development, connection, wellness. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on a variety of different social media pages. If you know somebody that would be a great guest to our show or sponsor, please reach out. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Paul Vibes here. Welcome to another video podcast. I have Georgia Woodbine. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you, Paul?
It's funny because Steve Vaccaro, I've been on his show and I saw that he had you as an upcoming guest. And as you know, he does shows I don't know how he does it. And shout out to Steve because he does an amazing job.
He's awesome.
And I saw you as an upcoming guest, and I was just a guest. And I know normally you don't want to, oversaturate, but I said, Steve, I got to come on your show. I want to meet this woman, something about her. I just saw a picture. I didn't even see a video or anything. I just saw something about your energy, just radiating these good vibes. And as you know, we become the closest 5 people we hang out with. So I was going to show up even if you said no. We're going to bust in. The chapter's wrapped. I'm here. But I just totally vibe with you. I was like amazed by all the things that you were doing. And when all this stuff was going down, you were one of the first guests I thought about having, because in this time there is so much uncertainty. And I know that's one of the topics. But welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor. Every time, every opportunity, every interview, every TV interview, every podcast, I'm always thankful because, it's a blessing from God when you can share your gifts and talents with the world. So I'm honored.
Yeah, and even though the circumstances aren't the best, isn't it great? Aren't we thankful that we can use technology to our advantage?
I don't know if you ever remember that movie, or maybe you're too young. I don't know. But it was with Sylvester Stallone, I think. No, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was when everything was advanced. It was I forgot.
I think I know, a futuristic movie.
Yes, it was very futuristic. And I always think about how that movie was so much ahead of its time, or even Back to the Future, because technology is basically taking over the world when you look at it. So thank God we have something like this during this crisis, because people can talk to their family members. They can do interviews like this to inspire people all over the world. It's such a great platform to be able to reach people. So it's awesome. It's awesome. I love technology.
It's all about perspective, and you're good at that too. I know that you talk a lot about that, changing your perspective and the way that we view things, and it's just great that we can still, even with people connecting with their loved ones, they may not be able to physically touch, and which is really important. Right. Everybody needs human touch, but how grateful are we to have this technology? And I'm grateful to have you on.
Thank you.
I know a little bit about your story, but to all the viewers who may not know what led you to do the amazing work you do, would you mind sharing a little bit of the adversity and challenges that led you to do what you do today?
Sure. It all started about 15 years ago. And I had a major flood in my home. I lost everything, basically. And I remember the only thing that survived was a journal that I kept. I kept a journal for about 10 years. I would just write just my inner thoughts, things that I was dealing with, things that I was struggling with. And I would just write it out in my journal. And I remember when I had that flood, the only thing that survived was my journal. I mean, it was about 4 feet of water. And then when I pulled the pieces of paper up off of from the flood, they weren't stained. The ink wasn't stained. It was amazing. So I was just like, wow. And then I took each piece of paper and I hung it all over, and you put clothes on a hanger racks, and I just hung them all over the house. And that became my first book. And so I share that story because, a lot of times when we're going through periods of loss or pain or confusion or chaos or stress or frustration or anxiety, it's hard to see past that. And I know because I've been there. You know what I mean? I've lost a loved one. I've lost my home. I've lost my car. I've lost lots of things. So I was talking to my sister the other day and I was saying I'm mentally prepared for something like this because I've been through so much in my life that it has really built my mental muscle so that I can now use that to encourage, inspire, and enlighten other people. You know, as we're talking about this coronavirus, there's no doubt that the coronavirus has had a major impact on our entire world, leaving everyone uncertain of what's coming next. And most people can't understand what's happening right now because what's happening right now, it's a global consciousness shift. A global consciousness shift. And what I mean when I say that is your conscious level is changing because you don't know how much time you have left or anyone else. So now your consciousness level is more about, let me take a stock of my life. Let me take a stock of my relationships with my loved ones. Let me take a stock of what's important. So what's happening right now, and I don't want to sound like, of course, it's painful because we're losing loved ones, we're losing people, and it's hard to deal with loss. But what's happening right now, it's an interruption of daily living. It's really showing us all how vulnerable we really are, and how interconnected we are, and to each other. And so everyone right now is on the same plane. And what do I mean when I say they're on the same plane? Everyone is trying to navigate around this new normal, okay? Of not being able to leave their homes, not being able to socialize, not being able to gather. And it doesn't matter. We're all trying to navigate around this new normal because it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are, what culture, what religion, what income level. You can go on and on and on.
The virus doesn't discriminate, right?
It doesn't discriminate. You know, everyone is feeling fearful of the unknown. And, you know, the unknown is a scary place. You know, it is. You know what I mean? We all experience that. You know, you just don't know from moment to moment. It's like, what's next? What's next? And I think that the reason why most people fear the unknown is because they're so used to being in control of everything. And so now, therefore, you start to lose control of things. Now it's like, okay, I don't got a handle on this. I don't have a handle on this. I don't. And so that fear is growing larger and larger because now it's basically you having to surrender yourself. You have nowhere to run. You have nowhere to go. You have to surrender. And I understand people. I understand it's a very confusing place to be. And especially because when you don't know what's going to happen, it's hard to really embrace that. And it's hard to sometimes embrace what you don't understand. And so it doesn't matter how much you think you've been planning for the future and this and that and that. Look at the stocks, look at everything. Everything right now, there is no security. Your security blanket has diminished pretty much. So there's a quote, and I'm going to let you talk, Paul, but there's a quote, and it says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's so profound.
And listen, you could talk the whole time. I love everything. It's fun. Listen, you're amazing. You're beautiful. You got amazing insights. You could have the whole show. You could be on here for 3 hours if you wanted to. But it's so funny because as you were saying that, I was thinking of this quote. It's something like, not knowing is not the problem. Not knowing, but thinking you should know, that creates suffering. And that because there's so much unknown. You could be one of those control freaks that have every aspect of your life boxed up. but this just shakes everything up. And I remember hearing a quote, Eckhart Tolle, and I'm sure you're a big fan of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking at a video recently where he says, if your foundation is built on sand, when things like this happen, you're going to shift and move. But if you have a rock inside yourself where you're grounded and you're mindful and you're centered, and like you said, because of the suffering and challenges you've been through, that rock within yourself, the stronger foundation for you to now deal with life. And people always ask me, why did I start the Buddy Club and why did I do these things? And it goes back to overcoming my own learning disability at a very, very young age. I grew up with a learning disability. I was choked by the umbilical cord, almost didn't make it. So at a young age, I would grow up in smaller classrooms. I used to feel different, and every young adult felt different at one point. But having a disability, especially at a young age, that really affects your confidence and all the bullying and all the other challenges that a young adult deals with. And for me, you learn at a young age, number one, I don't know everything, but also it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to spend your lunch period getting support, spend after school getting tutoring, going to summer school. And for me, that shift, and it sounds like the challenges with the flood and the loss of loved ones and the other challenge, you had that same shift. For me, it was volunteer work. I remember connecting with someone, a veteran in Northport here where I live, and we weren't doing anything fancy. I was just listening to him, and I saw his transformation happen. And in that moment of just listening, it didn't matter my sexuality, my IQ score, how much money you had in the bank, my skin color, none of that stuff mattered. And I had this realization that we as individuals have the ability to make an impact on someone's life, no matter our life situation. And it sounds like you've been on a similar journey. It sounds like you've had those experiences, you've had those lessons.
Yes. And, like you were saying, Paul, you can choose. We all have the power of choice, the gift of choice, actually. And you can choose to make this moment paralyze you on this hand, or you can choose to let this situation liberate you. And so I choose the liberation. And, what happens is when things like this happen, it forces solitude. And, it's time to really start self-reflecting, everyone. A lot of people are looking at this so negatively, but what I share with people is choose to look at the things that are positive. Sometimes the media, they make people get into a panic when they were going food shopping and buying up all the toilet paper and paper towels and food, and it's all in a panic mode. And, it's really about getting to a place of oneness. And that's what happens with solitude. A lot more people are walking with their families, things they probably haven't done in so many years. A lot of people are sitting down having dinner with their children, things that they have probably not done in so many years. A lot of people are working from home who have never, ever experienced having that being offered to them, have now that opportunity to do that, to work from home and be with their loved ones, their children, their husband, their spouses, whomever. And so what I'm saying to the people is that you have to look at the good things that's coming out of this, the people that's supporting each other, the people that's helping each other, people that's looking out for each other. Would this happen on any other circumstance? Probably not. But because we're all looking at how all of these external things mean nothing if you don't have life. So therefore, we're now becoming more aware of the importance of life, the value of life. And it's really, really shifting. Like I said, it's a global consciousness shift. And what happens is you could choose to think negative or you could choose to think positive. But what happens is when you fixate your thoughts on negativity, meaning if you keep turning on the news every 2 minutes to watch what's going on, what they're saying, and then your mind is just consuming all this information. And then what happens is once you see something, then you think something, and you think something, and then you feel something, and then you feel something, and then there's your emotion. and the fear and the worry and the stress and the anxiety and feeling like you're isolated and you can't, you're not, you were isolated to a certain extent. You can still go for a walk. They haven't locked up the parks yet. That's probably the one last thing that's left to do.
They're busier than ever. The parks. There's more people at the parks.
I'm talking about the big open space parks, Central Park, like huge parks, like those types of parks. You can still go for a walk. But it's like, you know, when you fixate on negativity, it just feeds on fear. It feeds on anxiety. It feeds on stress. It feeds on all those negative emotions. And what happens is those negative emotions start to consume you. So that's why you have to really be careful and be mindful of how much of the news you're watching. Of course, we all want to know what's going on. We all want to know, be aware, but you have to limit how much of that stuff you really take in, because it's not going to help you get through this any better.
Mm-hmm. You see a lot of people right now being taken over by the news and the negativity. And I think those people that do get taken over by that are the people who usually get bogged down and taken over by negativity. And it reminds me of when I started not-for-profit, there were people that were like, that's amazing, that's so good. And you can look at that, you know, how people are kind of having a positive twist, like you were saying, of what's going on now. But then there's also people that are like, are you going to make money? Why, you know, this is great, but what happens if someone gets hurt? And I feel like some personalities, some people, they can be 99 positive comments. You can get 99 good things happen. You get 99 nice text, 99 compliments. But
right.
the one thing is what sets us off.
Right.
You know, this is, you know, we were talking about, you know, before we went started recording, you know, as I'm going to school for social work. And one thing that comes up when you're a social worker is when you're working with people, you may come up with a situation. I'm sure you maybe have encountered this and you can share that. Someone that says,
right.
Well, how can you relate to this drug addiction? How can you relate to this loss? Or how can you relate? And sometimes we can relate. We've gone through similar suffering, but sometimes we haven't, right? We can't relate directly, but we still can support them with our knowledge and skills. And this experience, how amazing is it that we are going through this, like you said, together as a community, right? And the lessons and the insights that we get together, we are going to be relate. You're not going to be able to say, I can't relate to that. I can't. No, the whole world is suffering.
Right. There's no status now. There is no such thing as status. It's everybody is on one accord. And, you know, I always talk about the road to true freedom is to have peace of mind. That's what freedom is to me. So the person that is no longer fearful of security, that is the person that is truly secure, because they have learned to let go. And when you learn to let go, you understand that when you cling to security, you're unable to confront your worst fears. And so what happens is when you're so clinging to the security because you're so afraid if something happens out of your control, what's going to happen? The mind is always looking for some type of quick, fast relief, and to ease this discomfort or the pain. It's always trying to find something. Some people, they think it's money. Some people, they think it's relationships. Some people, they think it's their job. Some people, they think, it's different things to their career. It's different things to different people. They gravitate to hold on to that because they're so afraid to confront their worst fears. And in times like these, the only thing that you can lean on is your faith and your beliefs and a higher power beyond what the human mind can see. And I know for some people, it's very hard to do that because you can't control what's happening around you right now. But there's one thing that you can control, people. You can control this. You can control what you think. You can control your thoughts. You can control how you feel with your thoughts. That's something that you have control over.
And I'm sure your coaching business and then the speaking business now is a very interesting time. You probably find yourself doing a lot of these Zoom calls.
I have so many people reaching out to me right now. It's crazy. I'm like,
oh
good,
my God. unlucky circumstances. But what would you say, even besides this situation, which is it's a great situation to learn this advice and to really absorb this.
Right.
But what would you say to someone? I mean, besides a lot of the great things that we're talking about, what would you say to someone that's resisting, they're having trouble accepting, they're just very agitated? It could be this situation, it could be something personal going on that they just can't let go. They can't just work through, they're just holding on to it. And you see a lot of people, they hold on to resentment, they hold on to pain, to fears, and these things, sometimes they take it to the grave.
Right.
You see
Right.
so many older people, young people too, all
Right.
age.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of older
Definitely.
people, they have this, you can almost feel it. And I felt the opposite with you. I saw a picture of you. I was like, this woman, that's awesome. But how do you really sit down with someone that is they have so many shields up and barriers? And I would love to know how you do that, because I have trouble working sometimes with people like that.
Well, the best way to cope with change is to allow yourself to have a transformational mindset. And what I mean by that is that usually that happens in times like these, where you have to find solitude, where you have to find that moment to be alone. I think we live in a society where people really confuse being alone with being lonely. And those are two different things, because you can be alone without being lonely. And so that's where you need to be right now, is being alone with your thoughts, because when no one else is around, it's just you and your thoughts. And so when you take that time out for yourself to really get to a place of oneness and solitude and quiet your mind, and you're not so distractions all around you, that's when you start to discover your true self. That's when you get to find your true identity. You get to discover, like, who am I really? You start to see things differently. You're free from all the outside noise and interruptions or outside opinions, and it's just you and your voice, really. So it's during this time where you have to embrace it. And I know it's hard, people. I know I'm saying it, but you're like, Georgia, it's hard. But you just have to really let go. Let go and start looking at things to appreciate instead of things to complain about. Start looking at ways you can recharge your mind. Start looking at ways you can self-reflect. Start looking at ways that you can handle these negative emotions from these experiences. And being alone with your thoughts it's such a powerful experience. And I'm sure Paul can identify with this, because it starts to reveal things to you about yourself. It brings you clarity. It brings you focus. It brings you creativity. I mean, I don't know if you've been seeing all the creative stuff that's going on social media, but people are playing paddleball in their apartments across from each other. People are doing all kinds of creative things. And I'm like, how in the world are they doing this? They're playing their music. They're doing all kinds of things. What happens in times like this is it forces creativity. It forces innovation. It forces the mind to think outside of the box. Why? Because people are getting bored, being isolated. So they're thinking of things, well, how can I keep myself going? How can I, keep myself, motivated? Or how can I find something that you love to do? Find something that you love to do and do it. There's hundreds and thousands and millions of people out there that's probably been saying, oh, I want to start a podcast, but I don't have enough time. Well, you know what, people? Now is the time, okay? You have all the time in the world now to do that.
How lucky am I? I'm getting like a one-on-one session with Georgia Woodbine over here. It's amazing. Just that alone. Listen, I could get 5 views. You may not like that, but I'm probably going to get more than that. But the point is that how cool is this to have your own podcast? People should do this. And it's funny, as you were saying that, literally 2 weeks before I started making phone calls, I had this idea. How cool would it be to have a guest like you on, to also have the ability to promote the things that I do, but to share stories of overcoming challenges. So literally within those 2 weeks from that idea, I made phone calls. My friend who's a feng shui master came, pimped out the whole room with me. Then I had a friend who's an artist who painted this table over here. And then now I got a friend working on a crazy, I'll show you pictures, a yin yang table that will separate. And the point that I'm making is when you get those gears moving, amazing things can happen. Like I knew, like I saw a picture of you. This is how this all happened. I saw a picture of you going to be on Steve's show. I said, I'm going to that podcast. I came there. I said, we got to connect. We got to get information. Then we reached out to each other and here we are. And this is just the beginning of our friendship. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but for me, and I don't know if the viewers can, think about this in their own life. What is worse than looking back and saying, I was so passionate about this. I had all these ideas. I had all the resources. I had all the support, but I didn't make anything happen. And I'm the type of person, I'm like you, and I can tell you are like, people don't even need to talk to you. They can just look at you and be like, you make things happen. You break down the walls. Just looking at the walls, you bring them down. And I love it. I could just tell. So for me, I was like, I do not want that fear. I never want to wake up one day and say, wow, how would my life have been if I started this podcast? I wonder what guests I would have been talking to and what impact. I'm doing it. And I think you're the way that, in your books and your talks and all the mentorship that you do, I can't even imagine the results. And if you could share like maybe some stories without giving out, giving whatever you feel comfortable with, but what kind of transformations have you seen, whether it's a talk that you're giving or the one-on-one work you do or the people that read your books, like what kind of transformations do you see these people go through?
Well, I think the reason why when I talk to people, sometimes people say to me, I'm in awe with my words. Like people say that to me all the time. They're like, when you talk, it's like, I just want to continue to listen, like they get in awe. But what I share with people is that this is a gift that I have. This is one of my spiritual gifts. And that's what I talk about. Everybody has gifts. Everybody has spiritual gifts. Everybody have their own gifts. And so because I'm so passionate about what I do, it's my natural ability. It's something that I was born to do. Did I know early on I had this gift? No, not really, because I had a fear of speaking. But because I was so passionate about it, I moved beyond my fear because I saw how people were responding to me. And I know that I am a spiritual vessel. And because it comes from somewhere higher up than me, and it just flows through me. And then therefore, when it flows to me, I am able to share it with other people. And when other people, they feel me the way they do, or they embrace me the way they do, I know it's because it's a spiritual flow that's happening. That's why they're responding to me the way that they are. So what I'm trying to say is that people have to start focusing on right now, especially what you're good at, what you love to do, what are some of your passions. And how you do that is think about some things in your childhood that you loved. A lot of times people don't realize their gifts because you do it so naturally that you don't know it's a gift. And therefore that gift can be something that you turn into something profitable if you just knew how to master it. And you just knew how to feed it, and you knew how to, like just like a plant, you water it, you get mentorship, and then you take that thing, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had this thing, and oh my gosh, look at what's happening. So, one of the things that I share with people is something that you can do right now, and I'm talking about actionable steps right now that people can take, is meditation. That's huge. It's been huge for me for the past 15 years. Since I've been meditating, my life has transformed. I can visualize and manifest. That's the type of meditation I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about really meditating and focusing and visualizing and speaking affirmations and manifesting whatever it is that you want to create. And so for newbies, you can start out doing it for 5 minutes a day, then 10, then 20. Well, now you have a lot of time, so you could actually just go for the 20 minutes. Just go for the 20 minutes. And, some people need an aid. Some people need like soundscape music or jazz music or classical music or waterfalls or what nature sounds or whatever you need to get you into that flow. Because what happens is when you start to meditate, you won't look at things so negatively. You'll start to tap into deeper parts of yourself that you never knew was there.
Mm.
And it will give you, it's almost like you get new antennas, and the antennas are up, and everywhere you look, you see opportunity. Everywhere you look, you see something positive. Everywhere you look, it's always something there. And that's what meditation does. It just, it really sharpens your awareness level where you start to see things from a higher perspective, a
Mm.
spiritual perspective that is greater than the average thinking mind. And so that's why it's important to meditate, because it helps you to really observe everything around you. And most importantly, what it does is it helps you to control your thoughts. So let's do like a quick little
I'm
meditation
so
here.
glad I was going to
Okay.
ask you to do that, but you are going to do that. Please, and do as long and whatever you need to do. Please.
Okay, so we're going to close our eyes, right? We're going to take deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. One more time, inhale, exhale. Now, meditation is all about the breathing. You have to do the breathing. And once you do that, it's really going to get you to a place of feeling that relaxation. And so you want to get to a place of relaxation where you can really start to just allow your mind to wander without controlling your thoughts, without thinking about what you have to do tomorrow. So I just want you to just visualize for a moment. Take this time and visualize how things are going to look 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Just see yourself, see your life. What do you see yourself doing? And I'm talking about this from a positive perspective. Now, it may be something you've always wanted to do that you didn't try. It may be something that you've been putting off, that you've been procrastinating with, but it's something that makes you feel good. So right now, we just want to focus on a feel good experience. What is it that makes you smile? What is it that makes you happy? What is it that makes you feel good? And just hold on to that good feeling and that good thought, because that's where you want your mind to take you. And you just let it flow. Don't force your thoughts. Visualize yourself being in your favorite place. It could be in the beach, it could be in the islands. Just take yourself there right now. Just walk yourself right to that place of peace, that place of serenity, that place of tranquility. You just hear the water flowing. Just feel yourself, the water on your skin, and just take yourself to that place and just relax. Relax and think about the good things. Think about all the things that you appreciate right now. Think about your family members, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your aunts, your nephews, your nieces, your children. Just think about all that joy. Think about how it feels when you're around these people and what you feel, the joy that you feel. So you can open your eyes, but that's really what it's about. It's about taking yourself to a place of feeling good. And when you do that, your mind wanders. You don't have to control your thoughts anymore, because now you're more focused on the positive feeling.
I love it. That was amazing. Thank you so much for that. I hope the viewers enjoyed it. I feel like meditation is one of those things where it's, of course, like anything, it's hard right in the beginning because you beat yourself up, right? Because you think that, oh my God, I'm having thoughts going on. I'm doing it wrong. But you just gotta let those thoughts come and then let them go.
That's right.
It reminds me of this quote. It says something like, most of the madness or something in the world comes from man's inability to sit alone in a room. And I can tell that for myself, where the more that I'm meditating, the more I'm okay with sitting alone in a room. But when my mind is continuously and endlessly busy and I'm ruminating and I'm obsessing and I'm compulsive, I can't sit alone in a room.
Right.
And that's the time when it's more important than ever. It's during this time, you would think, you said people got more time than they ever have, but we aren't always doing the things that we know we should be doing. And it's definitely, I think if you mentioned earlier, it's definitely this whole experience is making people readjust and to figure out what's truly their priority in life.
Yes.
What's
Yes.
important to them? What's important? Is family important? Is their health important? Is eating the right foods important? Is hygiene important? You know, they take, you know, maybe things they took for granted.
Exercise, which a lot of people are doing a lot of these days.
Oh, yeah.
You see more people walking than ever.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's so many things that you can do to navigate beyond your fears and of uncertainty. And meditation is one that we mentioned. Another one is reducing your exposure to the news, which we talked about as well, and try to avoid the news at vulnerable times. And what I mean when I say vulnerable times, meaning the beginning of your day or right before you go to bed. You don't want to watch the news during those times, because then it's percolating. You know what I mean? So try, if you are going to watch the news, I can't tell you not to do it, but if you do choose to do it, don't do it when you wake up in the morning, when you're starting your day, and don't do it before you go to sleep. Exercises, we talked about, go for a walk, run, exercise, do yoga, do meditation, do what works best for you. There's so many, you know, now we're living in a day where we talked about technology, right? There's so many exercise classes on YouTube, free. You can do kickboxing, you can do Zumba, you could do lift weights, you can it just goes on and on and on. I can't even think of any, but like there's so many classes online that you can take for free. So there's
no
classes online. Language, if you want to learn a language, there are free classes on YouTube. I mean, there's so many things. You have so much access to so many things. You have no excuse not to be bored. Really,
this podcast. They can listen to stuff like this, right?
Watch podcasts, learn how to meditate, you know, things like that. Speak positive affirmations. Okay, that's important. And how it works is, I always talk about people having a mission statement for their life, right? So my mission statement is, I, Georgia Woodbine, am here to empower, motivate, and inspire 1 million plus people. That's my mission statement. So what I do to build that mission statement up is I speak positive affirmations to myself. I am joy. I am peace. I am happy. I am love. That's how you speak affirmations. I am, I'm brilliant. Whatever it is, just good things that you speak about yourself, because a lot of times you'll hear people talk negatively about themselves. And so what happens is when you put those negative words out into the universe, it starts to manifest your reality. So that's why I said you want to start speaking positive affirmations to yourself, positive self-talk. Why? Because positive self-talk is going to help you through this time. Positive self-talk is going to help you remove that stress, that anxiety, that fear, that confusion, that chaos. That's what it does. That's what positive affirmations does. And as Paul was saying, use this time to connect with your family and friends. People out there that if you're holding any grudges with anyone, or you haven't forgiven someone for something that they've done to hurt you, now is the time to let those feelings go. Because that could also be tying into why people are so angry about what's going on right now, because they still have unresolved feelings about other things that's going on in their life. So it's important to move past all those things.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I want to just make sure we talk about that. You have a variety of different, you have some books, you do workshops. Share a little bit so my viewers and people who maybe don't even know either of us, how do they get in touch with you, and what are some things that you have available to the public?
So I do, and before I forget, I definitely want to let your audience know I have a free gift for them. I know like people are struggling with this time, as we talked about before, and they're trying to figure out how to cope and how to deal. And so I have offered a free ebook to people that's watching this podcast. It's the Minute of Motivation, and it's a book of all positive quotes for you to like start reaffirming, as we talked about positive affirmations. You know, you have to feed your mind something over and over again. You know, the average person, it takes them to form a habit, they have to do something 21 times to form a habit. So just reading positive affirmations to yourself and using those Minute of Motivations in the book. So you have to go to www.georgiawoodbine.com. It'll be available for you for 24 hours. So I would say as soon as you watch this podcast, go and get your free ebook, Minute of Motivation. It's going to definitely help you during these times of uncertainty, and also build up your mindset to really be on a more positive note. You know, and Paul was mentioning before, I am a life coach, a lifestyle transformation coach. I'm an author, I'm a speaker. And the reason I do what I do is because it makes me feel good when I know that I can share my gifts and talents with someone else to help them to tap into their gifts and talents. And so that's what I do, what I do. You know, I would do this for free. And that's when you know what your gifts are, because whatever it is that you love to do, you more than likely do it for free. And so when you go into that with the right intention, and let's talk about a little bit about your motivation for success and the motive for success. When you go into things with the right motive, you don't have to worry about money, because the money's going to come. As long as you go in with the right motivation of why you're doing what you're doing. And that's why it's so important for people to understand, especially if they are going to start a podcast, know why you're doing it. What is the meaning behind doing it? Is it because you're looking for popularity? Is it because you're looking for something to draw income from? Look at the mission and the reason, the why. It's so important to know your why. And when you know your why, it keeps you focused, it keeps you aligned, and it allows you to touch people. And when I said, like, when you're doing things for the right reasons, the money is going to come. Believe me, the money will come.
It follows. And people did the same thing with my buddy club when I started that. Like, why are you doing this? You make money. And the opportunities and the speaking engagement, everything that came out of it, I did it because I just enjoyed it. I never even thought about being a speaker. But it's just amazing when you put positive energy out there, when you're passionate about something and you do it despite all the noise, right, of what society thinks you should do. And
Absolutely.
I think anybody watching this, I think you, if anybody's interested in coaching or any of the different services that you offer, definitely reach out to you. And I think that, you know, where on social media can people find you? Your website you mentioned.
They can go to my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. They can Google me. I'm on Google. I'm on Instagram. They can like me on Facebook. They can tweet me on Twitter. They could share my information on LinkedIn. I'm on everything that you could possibly think of. You type in Georgia Woodbine on Google, trust me, you'll find me. But like I said, you know, people, now is the time, seriously, on a serious note, to really focus on what you can do positive to make a difference in somebody else's life. Because you know what? We're all going through this, and we will all get through this. This too shall pass. It will. Use your time wisely. You have a lot of time right now. You know, use it wisely and really look at how you can do something for someone else. Don't when you focus more on helping other people, you don't have time to be stressed. You don't have time to have anxiety. You don't have, you know, it refocuses your whole energy. So think about what you can do to help somebody else right now. That's where your mindset needs to be. Just think about what you can do to help somebody else.
Perfect. Well, thank you for putting out those positive vibes, that good energy. And I think you'd be down maybe in a couple of weeks, in a month. We reconnect, we talk about some other stuff. I'm sure the viewers reach out, comment what you liked, what you want to hear us talk about next time. But Georgia, I hope you do well. Hope your family stays healthy. Hope you stay healthy. And I'm excited for all of your clients and people you're working for the, you know, the transformations that you're going to help them go through. And I got to say, even in the short period that we've known each other, even this conversation, I knew was going to be awesome. And you know, thank you. If nobody else, thank you for the positive impact you've made on my life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to let people know, just stay safe, take precautions, do what you need to do what you can do, and really be conscious of what's going on around you and be aware. Because like I said, what's happening right now is a consciousness shift. So don't miss the boat.
No, this is a time for
Don't miss
great
the boat.
transformation, right? This is definitely an opportunity for all of us to learn together. And I am like you, and I'm extremely optimistic. And I
Yeah,
think, like you said, so many beautiful things coming out of this experience, this conversation, all the beautiful things people are doing out in the community. And
definitely.
I hope, and like I said, the viewers definitely go get your the free offering that you're having on your website. Limited availability for that, so be sure to do that soon. And
Definitely.
Georgia, I hope to see you soon. Sending you good
Thank
vibes.
you. Thank you for having me. You guys stay safe.
Thank you so much.